Hey, good morning, everybody, and thank you for just talking business. I am Stephanie Van Bark, and I'm a small business owner. Today's show is really going to be a great show for me, anyway, because these folks are in my industry. As a matter of fact, they've been in this industry for much longer than I have. Been around in the Miami area, and now they're taking their talents in the media world bi-coastal. And so we're going to delve into a little bit of that pivot plan. Please welcome Tony Lesesne and Woodie Lesesne.
Hey.
Hi. How
Hi.
y'all doing?
Great.
Good to be here.
We get a twofer today.
Yeah, got him in the middle.
How y'all doing today?
Great.
Very
Thank
good.
you for agreeing to do this. I have actually, I've been wanting to interview you for a while because this media thing is a beast, but I've watched y'all do it for quite a minute now, transitioning, from different areas in this particular medium. So I won't tell it. I'll let you tell it. What do you do and who are you, and tell me what you do.
Ladies first.
Oh, well, thank you very much, sir. Well, I'm Woodie Lesesne. I'm the president and chief operating officer for the company. Tony and I started this, almost 30 years ago now.
Mm-hmm.
It's been a journey. On the day-to-day, as far as what our company does, we're content creators, original content creators, so storytellers. We do independent films. We've done several of those, documentaries, content for clients, whether it's EPK or collateral or telling their stories. And we produce a lot of content for our web channels, of which we have several.
Okay.
Yeah.
And lastly, I guess I would say that we also produce 3 main events annually before COVID, but we're coming back this year, 2022.
I noticed that on your bio. I'm going to delve into that a
We'll
little
talk
bit.
about that as we talk.
Yeah. On those channels, the most active are the 3 primary websites, YouTube channels, and social media that basically target 3 different distinctive audiences. If you're a car lover or a buyer, then Autofocus World is where you need to be, and it's one of the few automotive media properties that is Black owned for more than 25 years and reaches a diverse audience of buyers that can really tilt the scale for a company. Then there's Month TV, Miami Urban Music and Film Festival TV, which is one of our events, but it really is around art and culture and music and the creative world, and bringing that into the entertainment economy, the creative economy, which can transform an entire region, as we know that happened with New York, Atlanta, Los Angeles, Seattle, that has created an economy around entertainment and made it a big business. It's commerce. And then thirdly is our flagship, In Focus TV Online. It was a magazine for almost 20 years.
Right.
And I think it's about that long, maybe more. And it has transitioned to a TV station on the web that includes blogs. So we're excited about that. Heavy technology, movie reviews, and cultural things that impact. We say, work smart, play hard, live well.
Okay. Now it's interesting to me that this industry, a lot of industries you've seen had to kind of pivot due to the pandemic. Emergency plan in the for-profit world was not something that was commonly talked about or considered. The film industry or the media industry seems to be different. When the pandemic hit, I was very impressed by how the creative world actually sort of became both the lifeline for the 2 months we were stuck in the house and could do absolutely nothing. But it also was an industry that seemed to be able to pivot pretty quickly. So I'm interested to get your take on whether you think this pivot is here to stay. If we went from streaming to, we went from television and movies to streaming, which is funny to me because it's still kind of like television to me. But anyway, that's beside the point. But now we're doing content creation that's being seen all over the world through our social media platforms. What do you see as the future of this industry after the pandemic, or is that just how we flow?
You want to go, Tony, or should I?
I'll go. Fine, fine. Yeah, I think that the pandemic. Good question, by the way. It's three things that's going on. You're talking issues around health and
Mhm.
awareness around, do I wear my mask? Do I get a booster? Media is really important to share information. There's a lot of fake news out there. Then there's
Mhm.
fake news that's saying there's over there is fake news.
Fake news.
It's like a dog saying that other dog is barking. It's
Yeah.
just crazy. But that's important for us in media, regardless of the size and scope. The second thing is elections. We've since
Mhm.
the COVID, we've had midterms, a presidential election, Senate elections, and so all the parties are trying to get their election messaging across at a time when we are as divided as we've ever been as a country. Uh,
Mhm.
Everything has subliminal meanings, whether it's racial or gender
Mhm.
overtones. Kill that and keep this, and so forth. So what we have is those things: entertainment is the one piece where everybody, whether you're Democrat, Republican, conservative, or liberal, or black, white, or whatever, we all seek that escape. Uh,
Mhm.
and for
Mhm.
me, I know at nighttime, I'm not trying to escape to news, um, but trying to escape. That's why
There's enough of
football,
that going on
basketball,
right now.
yeah, the
Only for
numbers are.
entertainment. Sometimes just for entertainment.
That's true.
Yeah, that's entertainment.
That's true.
So is it here to stay? Yeah, I think it's. I think once you've opened that box
Mhm.
of cookies, everyone's going to just keep eating from it. So yeah, I certainly see this as the future. I embrace it. We welcome it. We love it. Being
Mhm.
digital media
Mhm.
and content creators. Uh, but I think that we're going to see a difference in how we also represent advertisers and sponsors who want to carry their message on our platforms to reach our audiences. We have to also be clever and creative in doing that as well.
I mean, do you think it's also opened up the leveled the playing field? But prior to the pandemic, it was very hard for people who were not living in LA, New York, Atlanta, maybe some other areas to break into the industry. I think it was also very much a challenge for those folks who were of color, like us. Do you think this has leveled the playing field or has the potential of leveling the playing field?
Personally, I think that it has to some degree, because it's forced people to think even broader than they did before and more out of the box than before. Because you
Mhm,
can't get in front of people as much or as often, if you will,
mhm,
the whole paradigm has shifted tremendously. We've got friends and associates that are out in LA right now, and they've talked about what things are like on the set and how frequently they have to get tested and the masking, and when somebody
mhm,
gets ill, that
mhm.
everything shuts down. So the question you asked about is some of the things going to stay the same? I think some of that will carry over beyond the pandemic. I think people are going to be more cognizant about how they operate, how they function, how they interact, even more so than before. And I think that's a good thing for us to be more
Right.
mindful of that. As far as the industry portion of it is concerned, it's forced us to be definitely more creative.
Right.
We've had projects during this time where we had to, in normal situations, we may have had some talent that we would have brought in to fulfill some portions of that. And in some cases, we weren't able to do that because people are
Mhm.
just a little more trepidation about, coming out and being in front of folks. So in some cases, we just, you do what you have to do. We stepped in and filled the roles and completed the projects ourselves in some cases, or had to do it under very stringent sort of circumstances. But I think that it's going to make people be more thoughtful about what they do. And
Mhm.
if you really want to do it, for you to do it now going forward. In the past, maybe you would have done it well, kind of, but now because there are other factors that come into play, like maybe you're putting yourself at risk, or there's some situations that maybe on set, what have you. Do
Right.
you want to be in that environment? And then you make other decisions. So I think it's definitely we're gonna keep some of those mandates and things that we put in place now. Maybe slack a little bit more, but we're certainly gonna be more cognizant of how we operate. I think that's for sure.
You
Perfect.
asked, did it level the playing field? And I want to answer that question. In
Mhm.
my opinion, um, I don't think that it's leveled the playing field in the short
Mm.
term. I don't think that the playing field was ever made to be level in Hollywood. I
Mhm.
think that the playing field was made to be played by those who made the field.
The
They
field, yes.
cultivated the field.
Mhm. Mhm.
And
Mhm.
so
I
they
agree with that.
intentionally, I think, stuck some landmines in there, some bear traps, And we have to recognize that those things exist, who really owns it, and how to play. I think we're still learning, but I think that when you keep doing what you're doing, you yourself are cultivating a playing field that you can sew into the fabric of the larger uh,
Okay.
system, because
Okay.
it is a system,
The
and
system's already
the
existing.
entertainment world is a
Mhm.
system.
And we've got
And
to figure out
the
how
most
to
important
maneuver
thing you
around
can
it.
do
Mhm.
is keep doing it and get better and better, and just hope that you can connect with audiences, whether it be through Hollywood or through a streaming service, or however it is you create.
I have a friend that says all the time, you have to sometimes you have to back into it. So it seems like that's a lot of what you have to do. So that, the film industry has been, a huge business. This year they actually struggled a bit. It was 4.5 billion, which to me is not a bad deal, but okay. But they considered it a struggle just because people aren't going to theaters as much anymore. There's a lot of fear out there, and sort of the people that are willing to take the risk are those superhero movies. So it has opened up a lot of dynamic of things that are going on in your home. I noticed they're now streaming movies at the same time as putting them out on
Absolutely.
theater. There's been a lot of conversation around theater. Theater movies are going away. Television is going away, and I don't believe that. I don't buy into that. I think there's always that theory, but everything can be reinvented. What are your thoughts? Are you feeling like that might be? At some point we may never have a movie theater again. Is television going to be not like we remember it, in the network system?
Do you want? I don't think so. I don't. I think that people are always going to go to the movies. If you notice over the years, movie theaters have changed and transitioned. They used to be huge with you could fit 150 people or more in some theaters, bigger than that, and everybody's kind of crammed up together. Now, over the last several years, 5, 7 years at least, theaters became more of an occasion. And so it's these
Mhm.
big plush
Mhm.
lounge, reclining chairs that are just amazing. And it's a very limited number of people that are actually in the theater. So I think that experience is going to continue on because people like, for me personally, there's some films that I want to see, big films. I want to see them on a
Mhm.
big, gigantic screen. I want
Right.
that experience, and I want to be in a place with other people and kind of get their reaction, or just be able to see just the vastness of it all. It's just incredible to me. And some films I'm definitely never going to see on TV. I've got to see them on a big screen, and I think there are people who feel the same way. And so it's going to continue on. But yes, you're absolutely right. There are a lot more options now for those who are not as comfortable in
Mhm.
that environment. You can see almost anything that you want on television, call it up, or through one of your paid services. You have access to.
Mhm.
But I
Mhm.
don't think that experience is going to just die by no means. And there's a lot of money being put into theaters even now to do some of those conversions. So I think they're planning for that. Maybe it might go into a space of dinner theater type thing where they'll start to show.
Right.
Who knows? There's
Exactly.
some boutique
Exactly.
places and cities where they do have that experience available. And I think that might be a direction that we can look at.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we have to put on our futurist hat on, and I like to try to play futurist because it helps us survive in business. Honestly, it's
Right.
not just like a fun little thing to tag on and say, "Hey, I'm a futurist. That's cool and sexy."
Right.
No, it's part of it.
That's
It's a survival skill. It's a
right.
survival skill.
Exactly.
Where's
Especially
that
in this
next meal
business.
coming from? You got to predict the future and the weather and all that good stuff. But no, honestly, I do honestly believe that we're seeing a fusion of all of it. You're going to see again once Disney and Netflix did this and said, well, we've got to find a place, because Netflix says we're not going into the theaters with our productions, we're going straight to streaming, and Disney says we're going to the theater and we're going
You
on
streaming.
streaming. So you
Mhm.
got two sources of revenue, and that's what you're really looking at from a home standpoint, from a consumer standpoint. What you're going to see is you're going to consistently see bigger TVs that can accommodate larger audiences, say in a living room. So you're,
Mhm.
40 inches or bigger. And then you're going to have those streaming activities be shared with the family, friends coming over and things
Mhm.
like that. And that's going to be movie night. And you got to pay for that because what
Right.
you don't pay
Mhm.
going to the theater, you're paying in subscription costs. So
Mhm.
one way or
Mhm.
the other, the economics are working out. But the flip side of that is you have a lot of young folks who have no problem whatsoever watching a movie or
Mhm.
something they like on their phone
On their
Yes,
phone.
or
absolutely.
on their computer. And
Yes.
that's where Netflix have thrived, and there'll be other competitors there. And then lastly, to Woody's point, yeah, absolutely. I mean, being in a dark theater with a screen the size of a billboard, where you can actually see a 20-story building look like a 20-story building instead of a 20-story building looking like a matchstick. Uh,
Exactly.
it's a different
Yeah.
experience. You got sound coming from all over the place.
Mhm.
And then whether we like it or not, I know I like it, hearing, the audience clap or go, oh, and all that. It's just so cool. So I think that, yeah, Woody's right. We're not going to get rid of theaters, but we also, I think, theater makers like the big ones, AMC and all those, they do they gotta worry. They gotta think about it. I mean, one of our all-time favorite theaters in Los Angeles, the Cineplex, the round theater across from LA Film School on Sunset. Thank God it got bought because it shut down.
Uh-huh.
And that's one of the coolest theaters anywhere. So yeah, I think that we're going to continue to see an evolution of how theaters operate
Mhm.
and how they keep customers. And I hope that the big screen will be more proliferated, as well
Mhm.
as even drive-ins, because during the pandemic,
Yes.
drive-ins blew up.
They made a bit of a comeback.
That's right. There was a comeback, a short comeback, but a
They
comeback.
did. They did. I thought that was
It's a
very
fun
innovative.
experience, you know. I think it's
It
something that we
was.
should continue to do. I would love that as a kid, as a family, you
I
know.
agree. I
Yeah.
agree. I agree. So I do agree. I hope that comes back and stays really in a big way. Okay, so let's stop talking about business and let's talk about you personally. So right before we came on the show, we talked a little bit about you, and I'm assuming this was a part of your pivot, are now doing a lot of work in LA. Periodically you sort of kind of blending between the two markets. I want to, I guess, kind of tap into why you made that decision, what prompted you to really kind of go for it, and are you are you finding that experience to be a positive experience for you to be bi-coastal, or is it more of a, I feel like we need to full on transition into LA, or how, what's your experience between the two markets?
Hmm. Good question, Woody. You want
Well,
to?
what made us make some portions of transition? LA is the capital of what happens, as
Mhm.
far as movie magic and music is concerned. Yes, there are lots of other places around the country and around the world, but that's the big one,
Mhm.
and that's the mother lode, if you will. Our strategy over these years has always been to, as we create content, was to be able to make films, and
Mhm.
that's a big part of what happens on that space. But I think for us, um, the experience has been good because we've been able to go over the years, a couple of times a year, meeting new people, trying to network, trying to build our
Mhm.
base, if you will, and our contacts, and the talent pool, tapping into the talent pool that's there as well. So when we do have projects there, you're not coming in not knowing anybody and not trying to figure out how to do things. And as Tony mentioned earlier, we have some young folks who will work with us when they were young, and now, teenagers and what have you in school, and now they're, adults and they're working in the industry, so those relationships are pretty solid. So we're going to continue to do that and to build that. As we're working towards that, they are also, even though they're in LA, they're working to, plant their flag and put their foothold in to the
Okay.
industry. And so we're in talks now about projects that we could work on collaboratively, that they can be part of that extension, that arms and legs that's right there present all the time when we're here kind of going back and forth. And the
Okay.
way that the business runs right now, it doesn't really matter what city you're based in, really. It's about where it is that you're doing your production. So for
Okay.
us, it can be here. And, we were talking about this recently, that there's so many projects that are done elsewhere, and but they just basically show you the face of the city to let you know that you're in that particular city. But if they're indoors, they could be any city whatsoever, so
Right.
it's not as pressing. But yes, the majors are there, the major contacts are there, the agencies, the big
Mhm.
agencies, all that's there, and there's a plethora of studios and equipment and manpower and human resource to be able to fulfill anything that you want to do. So we do have to continue to put our footprint there and to build on that footprint.
Okay.
Yeah, we were careful, Stephanie. First question, yes, the experience in LA has been really good, really enlightening, inspiring. But
Mhm.
again, you know, we planted seeds. We were. we were gifted with blessings from above, because some of what he's mentioned, some of these young folks that we encountered and worked with, we would have never dreamed that they would be, on the rock star path in
Mhm.
their given, work with studios, whether it's Warner Brothers or Sony or whatever it is. And I'm mentioning names. I mean, we have two hosts for our Hollywood Spotlight show that are actual producers. Latanya, hey Latanya, and Latanya
Hope you're
Gilliard,
watching.
her partner Carl, contribute to the Hollywood Spotlight. He's an actor, she's a producer out in LA, known her a long time, and we've all grown together. Carrie Ann Ellington
Carrie Ann
is
Ellington.
from South Florida and
Okay.
transitioned to LA, and now she's producing, doing real estate, but she's such a talent. And
Mhm.
these are people that we've known for more than 10 years.
Mhm.
Augusto Barranco, one of the most talented special effects and graphic artists and designers, stage and set designers in the business. I mean, he
He's
was
phenomenal.
prolific in ninth grade, and now he's in his 30s. I'm not going to say his name, but so my point there is we were patient, raising our kids. That was our priority, growing the business slowly and caring for each other, and trying to learn to be better entrepreneurs all the while. I'll
Mhm.
close with this. LA is great, and it's an industrial city.
Mhm.
There's a perception that movies are glamorous. It's construction work,
Construction.
basically. You can get electrocuted. You can have something fall on you. God forbid, don't let anybody have a gun on the set these days. You got to
Right.
watch everything. Everything's
Right.
a hazard, and it's tough work. It's cold. It's hot. It's inside,
Mhm.
outside.
It starts early, it ends late.
Really. So I say that to say we've made our mistakes in LA. We filmed, and it was a lot of fun there, but we
Mhm.
also learned the do's and don'ts that apply there that don't apply here. Our skill sets fit perfectly there. We just have to, within the next 3 to 5, have that breakout independent
Mhm.
film or breakout
Mhm.
web series. And I think we've got most of the ingredients to do that, but we'll do our part, and hopefully the audiences will like it. And like all things you miss, you do it again and do it again, because this is who we are.
I
I
think
just
it's an important piece I want to add to that too, to what you're saying, Tony, is that, it's one of those things where no matter where you're from, you want to have your people, support what it is that you're doing if they think that
Mhm.
it's of value. And so own your own backyard. And as you said, we planted our flag here and try to build a base and, reputation and quality products here. So wherever you go, you kind of take that with you,
Mhm.
and keep
Mhm.
that mentality with us wherever it is that we're going. So it's, it's not so much about where you are, as I said, it's just the quality of the work that we're doing. That's what we're striving to continue to improve on, and have fun in the process, because
Mhm.
this is not,
For the faint of
there's no
heart.
straight path to success in this business. It could be a zigzag, who knows where
Exactly.
it'll end up. But
Exactly.
you have a plan, you work your plan, but you still have to be fluid enough to kind of flow with things as they move, because they don't move
Mhm.
necessarily in the process or in the sequence that you think it ought to. It may go out of sequence. So be open to all of those things and let it happen.
It's funny. I think Tony, you and I had this conversation. The fact that you guys have really sort of, and I shouldn't say guys, have gotten into that, some of the markets that you're in terms of like the car industry, is highly impressive. I think that's definitely the wave of the future. And I myself have been very impressed by the fact that this car industry thing is quite lucrative. The car and being a car is quite lucrative. Y'all definitely tapped on the right market there. Okay, so I wanted to ask you, when I first met you, you had an online magazine. You alluded to that. And then I read both of your bios and you talked about how you sort of transitioned into independent filmmaking. Was that a passion pivot, or was that just kind of, you know, chronological? That's just how the direction we should be going in order to advance our careers? Or were you always filmmakers in hiding?
Yeah. I think we all have stories to tell. I know for me, and one of the things that brought Woody and I together was our friends kind of pushing us towards each other's direction, because we both were involved in entertainment. But I know for me, music and film has always been just a part of my core.
Mhm.
and it's just who I am, and I don't think that I'll ever let it go completely. Um, Whether it's a hobby or a pastime or a career, and it's become a career, it's a part of the passion for me. I mean, I wake up thinking about new ideas, uh, short films, documentaries. Woody really led us in that area to open that whole world, which I was totally against, and I was against it.
Woman
You know,
knows best.
I was so wrong.
Woman knows best. I'm just
Yeah.
gonna leave it there.
I was so wrong on that. Um, but it is important. Not I was looking at box office stuff, and I've learned since then that the box office can be deceiving.
Mhm.
So some of the greatest films ever made were not watched or seen by very many people
Mhm.
without the marketing machine. But yeah, to put it bluntly, it's a passion. We love it. We have to continually remind ourselves to be true to the craft, be true to the
The
system and the
creative side.
processes.
Mhm.
And I know for me, it's an ongoing test to apply myself in ways that I can get better as an editor, as a visionary, as a director, as a writer every single day,
Mhm.
because
Mhm.
that's the challenge that I really love.
Okay. So how did your operations change with the pandemic? And was the pandemic sort of the first major kink in your plan that you couldn't control? I mean, I know in the film industry there's every 5 years or so there's a major strike which shuts down the system. Were you kind of already prepared because you've gone through something like that, or was this some one of those things where, oh, I got to figure out how to flip the script with
Yeah,
it?
I
How?
want to answer this and ask Woody to jump in, but I just want to say one thing: when you're black, okay, my white brothers, some of them get it and some of them don't have a clue, or
Mhm.
Hispanic brothers or whatever. But when you're black, every single issue that happens in the world that is crippling hits you
The
twice.
most.
And so I've heard people say, I've heard only white people say, there's no racism in America. Racism is over. Well, if you don't know what racism looks and feels like, you don't have the authority to say whether it exists or not.
Mhm. Mhm.
So I say that to say, when you look at the pandemic, we had to do a lot of things different. But when we were in LA during the height of the pandemic, all the studios were shut down. We drove by CBS and it was a crickets. Nobody was in the
Mhm.
parking lot. Warner Brothers shut down.
Mhm.
So the good thing is we could still operate carefully and effectively. We were able to
Mhm.
innovate ways to do COVID safety.
Uh-huh.
Before the NBA had a 7-foot interview policy, we were already on that page. But on the flip side, we were unable to have the facilities open and have access to the actors as much because things are shut down, and uh, you have to be ready for that. But I think being a black business and
Mhm.
seeing all the issues that we've gone through over the last 2 decades, um, uh, it prepared us for the worst because we
Yeah.
Mhm.
see the worst. Like we live even without a pandemic. As you're a black business owner, you're living through sort of a pandemic environment because it's hard for you to break through.
Mhm. Absolutely.
Well, it's a trickle down effect too. Sometimes the success comes, bigger companies get it first, and it may trickle down to smaller businesses. In some
Mhm.
cases, it doesn't trickle down at all. And when that happened, of course, a lot of stuff sort of just like stopped. So the smaller businesses were really having a hard time. I think we've been pivoting, as Tony said earlier. The way I can put it like this, we've been pivoting since the inception of our business because I feel like, as I said, we start out with a plan, and you can make the plan as solid as you want it to be, but there are circumstances that are not within your control. And that being the case, you have to be adjustable. You have to be able to be flexible to
Mhm.
move with it and flow with it. I use the analogy sometimes of, like if there's a storm going on and you've got a tree that's really very strong and very, very rigid, when that gust of wind comes and hits it, it's going to just snap. It's broken. That's it. It's
Mhm.
done. But if it's pliable enough, it can flow with the wind and it's going to
Mhm.
survive that storm. And we've been able to flow as things have changed and transitioned, sometimes out of what it is that we're doing as a business. And sometimes a client may have a need that's beyond what we actually do, but we're kind of doing that. and they'll ask, hey, can you guys do such and such? And we'll say, yeah, we can. And,
Okay.
and then we actually go about doing that. So that's helped us in a lot of ways to shift the business and move as it needed to be moved so we could sustain, because we understand, and I certainly understand very clearly as a president of the company and COO, I know that we have to watch our dollars. We know that we have to be thoughtful about what we do, how we go about doing it, and
Mhm.
make sure that the business part of it is sustainable, because it's the entertainment business, and it's really easy to get sidetracked in thinking about the entertainment side of it, and most people only see that side of it.
Mhm.
Which, of course, that's what you're doing it for them to see that side of it. But there's a business side that absolutely has to go for it in order for that to sustain. So the entertainment business is key, and we are always mindful of that fact, because we want to do what we love.
Right.
We don't want to starve at it. We like to eat. We like to eat a couple times a day, right, Tony?
A roof over your head, a little bit of light every now and then.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? So that's important, being able to do that. And so that gives us that fluidity and flexibility. And I want to just touch on one thing that Tony said earlier about the documentary side, and what that I had to kind of push in this direction. That was my visionary side, looking ahead at the future, thinking, what I think is going to work and what I think is going to be
Mhm.
coming down the pike. And that's part of
Mhm.
my job and part of his job as leaders of our company, to be able to look ahead and see where things are going, and then putting the
Mhm.
creative juices together to say, how do we make this work, and what do we need to do to position better for that. And that's a constant. It doesn't stop. It has to continue to do that, because things in the environment are continually changing, so you've got to pivot with that.
You're you're right about that
That's a good point.
documentary thing.
Yeah,
Documentary space is huge right now.
it
I mean,
is.
Netflix are just gobbling that content up.
Bottling it up,
Yeah,
you know exactly.
Stephanie.
And
Um,
I'll tell you a little story. The very first documentary, and this was the reason why Tony didn't want to do this, because we thought he was concerned about, how do we get paid for this? Who's going to pay to do documentaries? Who's going to pay for
Right,
this?
right.
And I thought,
Good
well,
question.
somebody will, because there's some wonderful stories that need to be told, and we need to tell our own stories, so it comes from our perspective. It took me 2 years, 2 years talking to a potential client who was interested, to get them to actually put up the dollars and sign off on the very first one. And it's because they were just so unfamiliar themselves, and so much trepidation, and so many different issues and concerns and what have you. And once we got through that, it's like, this is viable. We can do this. This is
Right.
really important. And it is a very important part of historical storytelling. And especially from my standpoint, our own stories. We need to make sure we're
Exactly.
on those.
Exactly.
So that's it.
So I wanted to ask you both. Um, you also do events. So
Yeah.
that's online magazine, that's documentaries, that's film, and you also do events, which it seems like, do you ever have a chance to sleep? But but tell me a little bit about that business. Has that been the most lucrative aspect of your business, or it's more the film and media content, but this is just something you love to do?
it can swing. It's one
Okay.
of those situations where, just like any business, certain things bubble as a success that year, that time.
Hmm.
Uh, One of the examples is events. First and foremost, the most important thing that events do for us is it allows us to get face to face with people who want to
Hmm.
network with the kind of audiences we bring. We're known for connecting amazing people. And then,
Hmm.
secondly, to expose them to something that will inspire them or educate them or entertain them. But then there's always these new ways to do it. And sometimes, because we're able to be on the ground, different places, we can kind of get a feel for it. The good example is we just came back from Las Vegas, as
Hmm.
you know,
Yes.
for the Consumer Electronics Showcase. Now, this is the largest consumer technology event in the world. And so we were there and we were tracking Hyundai and their robotics, meta mobility. We were
Metaverse.
tracking their metaverse and
Hmm.
AI and machine learning. We know, and people kind of expect Hyundai to be strictly about cars, and we're saying your business. Our challenge is to help you understand how your
Hmm.
business can
Right.
learn from this other business by
Mm-hmm.
diversifying, and they diversify like crazy. I mean, we're
Hmm.
expecting to see cars. They're showing dancing dogs that are robots,
Robots.
waiters that are robots that are there
Yeah.
to support people in a way that people can't do themselves. We can't lift it or can't go into a place that's unsafe or see things that our human eye can't see. So robotics and machine learning is critical. Now, what does that have to do with events? We were one of the first groups, organizers of the Technology Summit of the Americas, and Woody produced that. Now they have Emerge Americas,
Mhm.
and they had a Internet Coast, and a number of other tech-based
Initiatives. Hmm.
initiatives that followed ours. Um, and so we're proud of that, but we also have to look at how technology, entertainment,
Mhm.
and economics work together for our audiences and still make it entertaining. So
Mhm.
all of the events that we will be doing, the Autofocus Awards, the Women's Power Caucus, the Miami Urban Music and Film Festival, and others will have a strong tech integration part of it, because those who are without it are a part of the digital divide. It's not just who have and have nots, but it's
Right.
also how you use what you have and what's available. So these events that we're doing have to continually be cutting edge and attract people who are ahead of the curve and trying to stay ahead of the curve.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I wanted to share your video on this show, but I wasn't able to get myself together. But don't worry about it, audience. We will be getting that information out
It's
to
on our
you,
channel.
because it is really, really cool. Actually, when you see what's coming down the pike in technology, and that's going to have to be a whole nother show, because it looks really expensive, but maybe not. I don't know. So the last question I'll ask, and then I won't take up any more of your time. I'm getting your business a little bit here. You are partners. Just tell me if I'm getting too nosy. You are partners, but you also are husband and wife. How does that work? When it comes time to make those, how do you set up your day that you are planning what you need to plan for your future, for your business, for your who's the final say? How it would sound to me like the producer would be the final say, but I don't know. So I don't want to cause no strife. Tell me how
You
you
want to
work it.
start a war? Is that what you're trying to say? Now, okay. I'll
Mhm.
take first stab at it just really, really quickly.
Okay.
Just so you know, Tony and I are both Leos. He's a lion,
Oh,
I'm a lioness. And I know some people don't think that holds water, but there's some truth and value to
I
that.
agree. I
And we
agree.
both have very strong personalities. We both have a lot of fire, but we also have a lot of passion.
Mhm.
So somewhere in all of that mix, it works for us. I'm not saying that it's easy, but it
Mhm.
does work for us. And I think at the beginning and the end of the day, I have an incredible amount of love and admiration and respect for my husband and my
Uh-huh.
partner. And not just as because of who he is, but just the human being person that he is. And so my goal is always to strive to get to the best um, outcome possible for whatever the situation or the circumstance is. It doesn't matter always as much if it's my opinion or hers, his, or what have you. It's just what is the best outcome for what we're trying to get accomplished. Now, with that being said, there are times when there are some things that fall in my purview, and there are things that falls in his purview. But
Okay.
because we're partners, we don't maintain a very high hierarchy, so to speak, within the structure of the
Mhm.
company because we're partners,
Mhm.
and we created it that way so that there'll be sort of checks and balances in a way. And
Right.
so we vet through things, and sometimes it's just a discussion and it works great, and sometimes it could be okay. Let's pull the gloves out. Let's get with this now, because I'm going to stand firm on my position. But he may want
But
to
we'll
look
be
at it
okay
like
after.
this. But you know what? It's okay because still, at the end of the day, he's still my man. He's still my husband. He's still my best
Mhm.
friend. He's still my road dog, and we're going to push through as we have continued to do for almost 30 years now.
Do you
So
turn it off at the end of the day? Is there an end of the day for you too? Or is it, does it kind of go all to the wee hours of the morning?
Tony, you want to take that part of that?
Sure, absolutely. Uh, yeah, I think it's something that we have to work on,
Okay.
Stephanie. I think all couples that do business
Mhm.
together, we have some rules. We go out since we work from home, and like everybody, most people today, we're not in our office or studio. Um, So what we'll do is we'll have breaks, morning somewhere around noon,
Mhm.
in the afternoon, where we'll just sit out, look at the breeze, palm trees, and we try our best. It's not easy because there's the
Mhm.
phones ringing and business and
Right.
deadlines, but we'll try our best to remind one another, no business out here,
Okay.
right?
Okay.
And in some cases, not even family issues because we care for our parents, both of our mothers, and we have young men that we are concerned about that are a part of our family. So there's a lot to deal with, but we do try to do that. And secondly, it does turn off, but I know for me, and I can only speak for me on this, I'm passionate about what I do. So I love what I do. So being
Mhm.
a writer and a creator doesn't ever shut off. And
Mhm.
that's not a good thing. It's
Right.
good. It's
I see
good
that.
if you're feeling it because you always, in that vibe. But I think Woody's really the first person that has ever been able to pull my attention away from what I'm most passionate about,
Mhm.
and she becomes the focus. My family becomes the focus. I think she's hot and sexy, so that helps. That helps a
That was
lot.
a good way to
So,
end.
baby, but listen, we're on social media.
Like we on, remember this is the World Wide Web, but it was a good way to end. I'm gonna give you
Look, I
kudos.
mean, she's gorgeous. I
I'm
mean,
gonna give you kudos on that one.
yeah.
So you have some friends that have hopped on. Carmen said, "Hi, great to see you guys." Wilma said, "I'm on." Cheryl Kendrick said, "Power couple."
All
So,
right.
and I agree.
Hey, Cheryl.
So I want to thank you all. Thank you both for coming on today. I've actually been looking forward to this show because I feel like I'm going to learn some stuff. Before I let you go, I do want to find out how we can get in touch with you. But I also want to say personally, since I've become a member of BOMA, which is the Black Owned Media Alliance, I have been able to talk to both of you a lot more closely. And I have to say, you've both been very advantageous in helping me with my business and helping me advise me as to how to maneuver in this space. So I just want to say, really, here in front of everybody, thank you so much for that. And I hope you'll continue to share your knowledge with me as we keep going forward in this journey. So before I go, can you tell us how we can get in touch with you?
Sure. Um, well, the website
Snapchat.
in Focus TV online. If you like tech, movies, and culture. If you like the coolest cars coming to showrooms near you, autofocusworld.com.
Com.
Okay, it's also on YouTube. And if you like, uh,
Art,
you want to
music.
know about art, culture, and music, you don't know do you know who Brent Fayez is?
No, who is that?
See, three-time Grammy nominee. The month you'll see who's the next big thing, who's already a big thing to everyone under 35, but everyone else needs to figure it out and get caught up. So that's where
Definitely.
so the month
Exactly.
muff.com, and then of course our social media at Tony Lesesne and Woody's World 8 Woody.
For Instagram, and then my name for Twitter and Facebook.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you so much. We'll definitely be looking out for you, and I will be sharing the information that you gleaned from the conference.
Stephanie, can I
Thank you,
just say
Stephanie.
thank you to you?
You're
Uh,
Yes.
welcome. Thank
Can I
you.
say that? Thank you to you on
Yeah.
behalf of
Yes.
Woody and I, and all the positive energy you've brought into the BOMA organization, making the organization stronger, and also
Thank you.
having consistently powerful shows that I've watched and be like, wow, this is good stuff. So we can't wait to show some
Keep
of
it
them on
up,
our
Steph.
channels.
Thank
So
you.
thank you for that. We're
Thank
looking
you.
forward to sharing
We
that on
will
our
keep
channels.
it up.
Thank you so much. Y'all have a great day.
Thank
Thank
you all.
you.
Take care
Bye bye.
now.
Bye bye. So we have to thank that couple for sure. They are an amazing couple in the film industry, and I'm going to keep my eye out for them. I hope you will as well. Probably because I'm going to probably try to mimic everything they do so I can make it as well. Thank you so much for joining us today. This has been a powerful show. We'll see you right back here on Tuesday, next Tuesday at 10 a.m. with Alfonso Brooks from African. He is a curator of African arts and culture, and we are looking forward to that conversation as well, just because anything creative, I'm all over. I love those conversations for sure. So thank you again. We'll see you again back here next week. Have a good day.